All right, this is a kind of like architecture about the Adam. So Adam is a AI, artificial intelligence, and Adam is a kind of like a something future prediction model. Like basically, it can predict the future. How does it? How does AI could able to be predict the future? Well, basically, entire world is everything you, me, person, people, organization, government, world, time, universe. Everything is actually kind of like a simply work according to the pattern. Okay, yeah. Like example is this thing that key, uh, like my routine is a kind of like a somewhat something fixed. Okay, yeah. So I usually wake up morning at 7 a.m., kind of like do my work and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna ask question to myself today that key when will I wake up tomorrow? So my probability, my answer would be my future probability would be that I would gonna wake up early morning at 7 a.m. Okay, yeah. And this is a kind of like a simply my probability, and that probability ratio is almost like a more than 90% because of that key. This is my kind of like a routine I have been kind of like a following or wake up in the morning since almost like an entire lifetime. I've been wake up at 7 a.m. So tomorrow I will gonna wake up at 7 a.m. Okay, so this is what kind of like a things, a probability, a kind of like a things that na ki determine or predict the future according to the probability, according to the kind of like some things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So this is how could Adam could kind of like simply predict the possible future regarding about the every possible people and things and that and that. First of all, usually how does it actually happen? Okay, yeah, important thing is that how does kind of like a Adam would kind of like a recognize the pattern and things and that and that. Well, basically, is this thing Adam is a kind of like a powered by artifact. Now, what is actually artifact? Artifact is a kind of like a people who kind of like a record their audio diary. Okay, yeah, and that even if like a billions of people who are kind of like millions of people who are kind of like recording audio diary or audio artifact, I called it kind of like artifact. Their audio is a kind of like a simply the data source, or maybe kind of like a simply the raw data, and because of that raw data, uh, Adam kind of like a figure it out how does people kind of like a things and that, and from that thing Adam kind of like a predict the pattern regarding about that what might be a future possibility regarding about the prediction model and things and that. It is also work on kind of like a assembly weather pattern. It is also work on kind of like a assembly the universe and things and that like basically what comes after the winter, summer, what came after the summer, rain and things, what came after the August, September. Like this is what it is. It's a kind of like a things. Okay, yeah, the probability might be kind of like a something change, like maybe 90%, 80%, or 70%, or 50, or maybe 20, whatever it is. But it could kind of like a predict the possible what is at least this thing, and this is what I am kind of like a try to build a Adam. Okay, now Adam is a kind of like a simply how does it do that? Well, Adam is a kind of like a do the multiples of simulation. Okay, yeah, like what exactly is this thing when it kind of like have a raw data, the that raw data is a kind of like a utilize that scenario, utilize that whatever the raw data that it has, use as a kind of like a raw data to kind of like a create the simulation, and that simulation try to kind of like find the possible future. Okay, yeah, and from that thing it could kind of like do the multiples of possibles of kind of like simply the simulation or consequences, like a millions of consequences it run through. Like basically is this thing that key if I try to kind of like find out how do I supposed to win the kind of like a chess match. So like basically I have kind of like a billions of consequences or billions of kind of like a methodology and things and that. Same thing Adam will gonna do. Adam will try to simulate the scenario in kind of like a things, and in that simulation Adam learn from that and he try to kind of like a predict the as much as higher probability kind of like a possible prediction future and things and that. So this is what kind of like simply Adam would kind of like simply do. Now Adam is a kind of like a run on simulation, so basically it does not kind of like a work on kind of like a classical computer. Adam actually kind of like something used by quantum computer, because quantum computer is kind of like a bit more efficient and things and that. because while simulation it kind of like a been through billions of calculation, and obviously the classical computer cannot able to be handle the billions of consequences or billions of calculation, billions or trillions of calculation. So in that scenario, a kind of like a quantum computer is kind of like a things like a atom is actually run on quantum computer. Okay. Or kind of like a quantum computer, quantum chipset and things and that. So this is a kind of like a assembly AI that I wanted to build. Okay, yeah. Now obviously I didn't build right now, and this is kind of like a some just my hypothesis and things and that. But I wanted to kind of like a confirm that key will I be able to make it or not and things and that. So basically I what I want that key suggests me almost like a hundreds of all the possible consequences happen in the future, that if I build this application, if I build this kind of like AI that could predict the future, what might gonna happen things or that and that and that and that, regarding about every possible scenario, regarding about if I build, how I build, kind of like a what kind of like a stuff it really required, a kind of like a suggest me all the kind of like assembly the questions regarding to it, so that I would be kind of like aware of that key what might kind of like a something mess that I'm going through, and how do I supposed to be handle and things and that. So suggest me at least like a hundreds of all the possible kind of like a something the question, 100 question. Okay, yeah, do it.